here we are. Alrighty, well, greetings one and all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Junk Shop Library channel, home of the one and the only and the most not safe for work Bible study on the YouTube. In this particular Bible study, we read every excruciating word of the public domain, King James Bible of 1611, and then we rip it a new asshole, which this horrible, outdated piece of misogynistic crap so terribly, terribly longs for and deserves. That sounds interesting to you? Stick around, hit that thumbs up. Prepare thyself for the battles of the comments. If that doesn't sound interesting to you, feel free to hit the thumbs down on your way out. Either way, share it around. There's bound to be someone in your life, some secret heathen who would love to get their hands on this stream. We're in the book of 2 Chronicles right now. A terrifying just over a third of the way through this Bronze Age monstrosity. Before we launch into everything, I want you to check out which side of the screen is it on? My list of patrons over here on the side. These are the folks who have found it in their heart, and more importantly, in these trying times, their wallet, to contribute to the ongoing physical improvements here in the library and to donate towards the new computer fund, which thanks to two crazy German people is closer than when we first believed. Those people are, in no particular order today, Paul Kamish, Brainbug, Linda, Kim, Santi, Math Pig, Mama Atheist, Mark Caesar, Rain, and newest patron, B, from the fantabulous mental health channel, The Family. All right. We are being produced today remotely from the land of the Danes by the wonderful Bit of Tea and Danish. I see Amiga Nuts dropping that link in the chat, along with doubtless countless others. We call him the King of the Shills for no reason whatsoever at all. All right, let me catch up on the chat, and then we will launch into the word of the Lord. Whee! It's been a busy little chat. All right, let's see. That's where I wasn't able to talk in text anymore. We got Nerdy Rodent. Hello, my friend. Always good to see you. Godless Sewing is in the chat. Oh, yes. Joan, you like the new intro? We got Brainbug to thank for that. Isn't that fantastic? Gives you a little taste of what's to come every time we gather together. Santi the Sane is here. Welcome, my friend. Speaking of Brainbug, there's Brainbug. Greetings to the hive from the library, my friend. Always a delight. Amber Schofield is in the chat. Hello. Always good to see you. I loved your sermon the other day. We were rolling. And Amiga Nuts, of course, dropping links. Always fantastic. Ricardo Oliveira is in the chat. Hello there. Always good to see you. Edward, whose last name I dare not attempt to pronounce because I'm as American as a white bread grilled cheese sandwich served with a side of apple pie. You could call it out phonetically for me in the chat, and I'll do my very best and damnedest. All right, good, good. Everybody's... No, Santi, you're on the... Sorry, you're on the list. You're right there between Kim and Math Pig. No, you are definitely a Patreon. And I thank you for it very much. Did I not say your name? I might not have had enough coffee. I might have left somebody out. Santi, too, is one of my fantabulous Patreon patrons. Mm. All righty. Well, yeah, we're up to, at last count, 13 on the smite counter, though I think we missed a couple of chapters where there was a great deal of smiting, so I don't know what we are up to in actual life. No, Santi, don't worry about it. It's all right. Credit where credit is due, my friend. Just coffee. All right. Y'all ready for this shit? 2nd Chronicles. Chapter, where the fuck were we? Oh yeah, I did mention not safe for work. It's also not safe for children. So if you're a children, you need to hire yourself off to somewhere else, because the librarian is a little on the sweary side. Not to mention it is the Bible, and my God, is the Bible not safe for children. Sweet Jesus Christ on toast. Oh yes, yes, we ended with chapter 21 last time, with people dying of a disease of the bowels that made them fall out. Yay. Chapter 22, the book of 2nd Chronicles, for those of you following along in your pew Bibles. This isn't even the smallest print Bible I've got. I'll show you the other one sometime. Shit. Wait a minute. We did the... Did we do 22? I swear to God, I got to start using a Sharpie. No, we didn't do 22. I'm just remembering some of these names from earlier in the book. That's all. Organized his old junk shop. Terribly, terribly organized. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his stead. For the band of men that came with the Arabians to the camp had slain all the eldest. So Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, reigned. 42 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly. Wherefore he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father, to his destruction. He walked also after their counsel, and went with Jehoram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, to war against Hazael, king of Syria, at Ramoth Gilead. And the Syrians smote Joram. And he returned to be healed in Jezreel, because of the wounds which were given him at Ramah when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. And Azariah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Jehoram, the son of Ahab, at Jezreel, because he was sick. And the destruction of Ahaziah was of God by coming to Joram. For when he was come, he went out with Jehoram against Jehu, the son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. And it came to pass that, when Jehu was executing judgment upon the house of Ahab, and found the princes of Judah, and the sons of the brethren of Ahaziah that ministered to Ahaziah, he slew them. And he sought Ahaziah, and they caught him, for he was hid in Samaria, and brought him to Jehu. And when they had slain him, they buried him. Because, said they, he is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart. So the house of Ahaziah had no power to keep still the kingdom. But when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal of the house of Judah. I was wrong. We did do this last time. But Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she slew him not. And he was with them hid in the house of God 6 years, and Athaliah reigned over the land. I'm sorry, y'all. It's the repetition that gets to me. Okay, but we didn't do 23 because 22 was the one where I got all confused about Athaliah, because she was good the last time we encountered her back in, what was it, 2 Kings, something like that. I see some new folks popping up in the chat. Grumpy old dude. Hey, Ed, welcome. Always good to see you. Did I get a bakery sponsor? Dropping all this bread. Yes, this episode brought to you by, nope. Grumpy old dude is working on a bunch of different stuff, but had to pop in, say hello, and give Junk Shop a thumbs up. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Always good to see you, no matter for how brief a time. Toncher is here. Welcome. Always lovely to see you. Joan says, can I get used to the names again? I can't get used to the fucking names. Jesus Christ. And they're all so similar. That's part of what's tripping me up. They're all so similar. I tell you what I am going to do, though. Something I should have done. Going to start marking out chapter numbers as we do them. Oh, thank you, Ed. Yes, we are both very well. Well and cootie-free, at least to the best of our knowledge. Okay, so I'm not gonna belabor chapter 22 because we did chapter 22 back on Friday. Old Junk Shop is organdized. So organdized that he just used that joke for the second time in like 15 minutes. Great Caesar's ghost. Doc Fearsome, hello, my friend. Always good to see you. Yeah, exactly, Ed, right? Names, everywhere is names. All right, 23. In the 7th year, Jehoiada strengthened himself. Jehoiada the priest strengthened himself, and took the captains of hundreds, Azariah the son of Jeroham, and Ishmael the son of Jehohanan, and Azariah the son of Obed, and Maaseiah the son of Adiah, and Elishaphat the son of Zichri, into covenant with him. And they went about in Judah, and gathered the Levites out of all the cities of Judah, and the chief of the fathers of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. And all the congregation made a covenant with the king in the house of God. And he said unto them, Behold, the king's son shall reign, as the Lord hath said of the sons of David. This is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you entering on the Sabbath, of the priests and of the Levites, shall be porters of the doors. And a third shall be at the king's house, and a third part at the gate of the foundation, and all the people. But let none come into the house of the Lord, save the priests, and they that minister of the Levites. They shall go in, for they are holy. But the people shall keep the watch of the Lord. And the Levites shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand. And whosoever else cometh into the house, he shall be put to death. But be ye with the king when he cometh in, and when he goeth out. So the Levites and all Judah did according to all things that Jehoiada the priest had commanded, and took every man his men that were to come in on the Sabbath, with them that were to go out on the Sabbath. For Jehoiada the priest dismissed not the courses. Moreover, Jehoiada the priest delivered to the captains of hundreds spears and bucklers and shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. And he set all the people, every man having his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple, along by the altar and the temple, by the king round about. Then they brought out the king's son, and put upon him the crown, and gave him the testimony, and made him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and said, God save the king. Now when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people into the house of the Lord. And she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar at the entering in, and the priests, the princes, and the trumpets by the king. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and sounded with trumpets, also the singers with instruments of music, and such as taught to sing praise. Then Athaliah rent her clothes, and said, Treason! Treason! Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds that were set over the host, and said unto them, Have her forth of the ranges, and whoso followeth her, let him be slain with the sword. For the priest said, Slay her not in the house of the Lord. So they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate by the king's house, they slew her there. And Jehoiada made a covenant between him and between all the people and between the king, that they should be the Lord's people. Then all the people went to the house of Baal, and brake it down, and brake his altars and his images in pieces, and slew Mattan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. And Jehoiada appointed the offices of the house of the Lord by the hand of the priests the Levites, whom David had distributed in the house of the Lord, to offer the burnt offerings of the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, as it was ordained by David. And he set the porters at the gates of the house of the Lord, that none which was unclean in anything should enter in. And he took the captains of hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought down the king from the house of the Lord. And they came through the high gate into the king's house, and set the king upon the throne of the kingdom. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, after that they had slain Athaliah with the sword. And there we have 23. All right. Nothing to perk up your Bible study like a good old-fashioned coup. A coup, I say. Fiddle-dee-dee, fiddle-dee-dee, the fly has married the bumblebee. Oh, hey, Mama Atheist. Welcome. Good to see you, Amanda. Can't stay, not really able to type or stay conscious for too long, but love to all. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, rest up. Pneumonia's no fun. I know. Ugh. I hope you get much better much soon. Oh, Ed's just in a little bit of drama. Oh dear. Yeah, Joan, exactly. I can't keep track of who's who. The only people I can keep track of are, at this point, is Jehoiada the priest. And that's only because every time he's mentioned, it's Jehoiada the priest. Oh, we did have one. Linda, is there any chance we could bump up that smite counter to 14? I don't know what kind of technological gobbledygookity magicy abracadabra you have to do to do that. It's not a problem if you can. Alrighty. Well, a priestly coup, no less. Jehoiada the priest installing this youngest son that he's been hiding away in the temple. And once again, this story of Athaliah, the queen of Israel or Judah, whichever the fucking one it is just gonna drive me bananas, because the contrast between when we heard it the first time and when we're hearing it now is just so fucking extreme. Oh, Aunt Jer, no, this Aunt Jer, sorry, no, this is just for Second Chronicles. Lord, if this was a smite counter for the whole Bible, we'd have to reduce the font size down to so small you wouldn't be able to fucking see it, because that number would be high. So we've got the two tales of Queen Athaliah. In one story, she's a righteous avenger who kills the bad princes and takes over the throne, and only one escapes and is hidden in the temple by Jehoiada the priest, where she's not allowed to go because she's a woman. And in this verse, and that was back in Kings, Second Kings, I want to say. It hadn't been all that long. And here in Second Chronicles, she's a villain, and quite the villainous villain at that. A godless heathen woman who worships things that are not Yahweh, and won't tear down the high places and worships at the groves and does a massacre of the righteous. So these are just, it's just two books from opposite perspectives. Probably one that originated, one book that originated in Israel and one that originated in Judah, if I had to guess off the top of my head. So, propaganda. Who knows that old Theater of Hate song, Propaganda? But me and you, we know better. It's only propaganda. In other words, a lie. I think it was Theater of Hate. British punk-ish band from the 80s. Sorry, sometimes we go on tangents here in the library. Y'all know that by now. Yeah. So this book of Second Chronicles so far has been very much for us, by us, of the priestly class. And if there was any doubt about that before, it was certainly dispelled in this particular telling of the usurping and the death of good Queen Athaliah, or bad Queen Athaliah in this version of the tale. Wow, I am monochrome today. I didn't realize quite how monochrome I was. I mean, for a bloody coup by a full of himself priest who installed his priestly subordinates as rulers over the temple and commandment deliverers over Israel. It seems kind of boring. It's just, here's what happened. Not a lot of detail, not a lot of, certainly not the kind of detail we would have expected back in 1st or 2nd Samuel, where every time somebody dies, there was blood being licked up off the streets by stray dogs. Ricardo says there's 240 times smite, or a variation, is used in the Bible. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Ricardo knew that number off the top of his head. Might have looked it up, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he just knew it off the top of his head. All right. Now that we're all nicely confused by the, or at least I am, by all of these names that sound the same, and by the two tellings of Queen Athaliah's story, let's go into what appears to be the second telling of the reign of young King Joash, chapter 24. Here we go. Where's that fucking... There they are. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Zibiah of Beersheba. And Joash did that which was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. And Jehoiada took for him 2 wives, and he begat sons and daughters. And it came to pass after this that Joash was minded to repair the house of the Lord. And he gathered together the priests and the Levites, and said to them, Go out unto the cities of Judah, and gather of all Israel money to repair the house of your God from year to year, and see that ye hasten the matter. Howbeit the Levites hastened it not. And the king called for Jehoiada the chief, and said unto him, Why hast thou not required of the Levites to bring in out of Judah and out of Jerusalem the collection, according to the commandment of Moses the servant of the Lord, and of the congregation of Israel, for the tabernacle of wickedness? For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken up the house of God, and also all the dedicated things of the house of the Lord did they bestow upon Baalim. And at the king's commandment they made a chest, and set it without at the gate of the house of the Lord. And they made a proclamation through Judah and Jerusalem to bring in to the Lord the collection that Moses the servant of God laid upon Israel in the wilderness. And all the princes and all the people rejoiced, and brought in and cast into the chest until they had made an end. Now it came to pass that at what time the chest was brought unto the king's office by the hand of the Levites, and when they saw that there was much money, the king's scribe and the high priest's officer came and emptied the chest, and took it and carried it to his place again. Thus they did day by day, and gathered money in abundance. And the king and Jehoiada gave it to such as did the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and hired masons and carpenters to repair the house of the Lord, and also such as wrought iron and brass to mend the house of the Lord. So the workmen wrought, and work was perfected by them, and they set the house of God in his state, and strengthened it. And when they had finished it, they brought the rest of the money before the king and Jehoiada, whereof were made vessels for the house of the Lord, even vessels to minister, and to offer withal, and spoons, and vessels of gold and silver. And they offered burnt offerings in the house of the Lord continually all the days of Jehoiada. But Jehoiada waxed old, and was full of days when he died, and 130 years old was he when he died. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings, because he had done good in Israel, both toward God and toward his house. Now, after the death of Jehoiada came the princes of Judah, and made obeisance to the king. Then the king hearkened unto them. And they left the house of the Lord God of their fathers, and served groves and idols, and wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this their trespass. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Lord, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear. And the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Thus saith the Lord, Why transgress ye the commandments of the Lord, that ye cannot prosper? Because ye have forsaken the Lord, he hath also forsaken you. And they conspired against him, and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord. Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died, he said, The Lord look upon it, and require it. And it came to pass at the end of the year that the host of Syria came up against him. And they came to Judah and Jerusalem, and destroyed all the princes of the people from among the people, and sent all the spoil of them unto the king of Damascus. For the army of the Syrians came with a small company of men, and the Lord delivered a very great host into their hand, because they had forsaken the Lord God of their fathers. So they executed judgment against Joash. And when they were departed from him, for they left him in great diseases, his own servants conspired against him for the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest, and slew him on his bed, and he died. And they buried him in the city of David, but they buried him not in the sepulchres of the kings. And these are they that conspired against him: Zabad, the son of Shimeath, an Ammonitess, and Jehozabad, the son of Shimrith, a Moabitess. Now concerning his sons, and the greatness of the burdens laid upon him, and the repairing of the house of God, behold, they are written in the story of the book of the Kings. And Amaziah, his son, reigned in his stead. And there we have chapter 24. For our God is a jealous God, and gets pissed off whenever you worship other gods. In case you didn't get the fucking message by now, Jesus Christ. Sure says Syrian. No. If I said that, I misspoke. Syrian. Though it would be quite funny if Jerusalem was flattened by an army of Syrians, wouldn't it? You thought this book was not safe for work before. Ha ha! Ricardo checked it. Glad, because he thought it was 133, but that's just smite in the present tense, leaving out the smotes and the smittens and the whatever the other tenses would be. Okay, so chapter's kind of interesting in its own way, because apparently King, was it Joash? Yes, Joash, who was raised to the kingdom, raised to the kingship at the ripe old age of 7, followed in the ways of the Lord just as long as Jehoiada the priest was still alive and riding herd over it. Joan wishes they would elaborate about how they sinned against the Lord. Oh, it's probably just more of the same old crap. You know, letting trees grow and worshiping fertility goddesses amongst them, raising up high places to the Baalim. Dave says, is it odd that I was in the middle of reading about Sibian attachments? What, for your bouncy ball? Yes, we all want to do proper sinning against the Lord. This little bit of light blasphemy we've got going on just isn't going to cut it. Nobody tell me what your plans are once we get off the stream. Ah, thank you, Joan. Yes, it's one of my favorites. Okay, so here's the thing. I can sympathize with young King Joash. If you raise, as did Jehoiada the priest, if you raise somebody in a religious tradition and ride herd over them and make them do all the one particular religious tradition-y stuff, and then you have the effrontery to up and die at the age of, what was it, 130? As if there are people who have the gall to say this is an historical document. 130-year-old priest, my Aunt Fanny. You wouldn't necessarily have to have the vibration turned on, Ricardo. You just bounce up and down. Bounce and bounce and bounce. God, this chat took a turn. I love it. Y'all are fantastic. So yeah, speaking to someone who was raised by a priest, yeah, when you get out from under the thumb of a priestly raising, you do have a slight tendency to skew a bit the other direction, don't you? Not everybody goes as far as I did, but many people do, and some go farther. So anyway, Jehoiada, Joash's father, finally dies. And Joash says, well, thank goodness for that. Now I don't have to do this stupid Yahweh worship anymore. And he goes off and worships other gods, many other gods. And if you look very closely, you may be able to see his mistake. Because God has a tendency to notice when you're not paying attention to him, because he's a jealous little twerp. And he sends a tiny little group of Syrians from Syria, Dave, against Judah and Jerusalem, and lets them smite the great host of the armies of Jerusalem and Judah, despite being so painfully outnumbered. And poor Joash gets himself all smoked by his servants who conspired against him in his bed. And they slew him, and he died. That's one of my favorite things about the King James English, is these weird, pointless repetitions. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. That was on Jer's question originally, wasn't it? Hashtag blame Dave. Oh, y'all are so much fun in the chat. Anybody watching this back after the fact, you should watch it live. They have so much fun in the chat, it's just not even funny. All right. Pardon me. So, this tiny little army of Syrians comes in and wipes the floor with the big-ass army of Judah and Jerusalem. And from that, we take that God's not always real nice to his chosen people, because as Zechariah says, you have forsaken the Lord, therefore the Lord has forsaken you. Yoga balls with attachments. Just make sure you don't bounce too hard. You don't want to, again, or maybe you do. Maybe that's your pathway to 2,000 subscribers. All right. So, at the risk of complaining too hard about the repetition, that's the second time we've read this fucking story. So I think I've rambled about it enough. I am curious about this last verse. Concerning his sons and the greatness of the burdens laid upon him and the repairing of the house of God, behold, they are written in the story of the book of the Kings. I wonder if that's actually the book of the Kings that we still have access to. First and Second Kings, or if it's one of these lost texts that Chronicles seems so insistent upon referring to. I wonder how many of these are actually lost texts and how many of them were just left out at the Council of Nicaea. Who knows? 25? We've been going 42 minutes. We can do 25. Oh, one of these days I'll remember to put on my fucking glasses before I... Jesus Christ. It's part of the charm, right? The unpredictability, the improv. Here I go putting the improv in improv Bible study. You wouldn't have it any other way, would you? All right. 25. Amaziah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jehoadan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a perfect heart. Now it came to pass, when the kingdom was established to him, that he slew his servants that had killed the king his father. But he slew not their children, but did as it is written in the law in the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, the fathers shall not die for the children, neither shall the children die for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. Moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together, and made them captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, according to the houses of their fathers, throughout all Judah and Benjamin. And he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men, able to go forth to war, that could handle spear and shield. He hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. But there came a man of God to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. But if thou wilt go, do it. Be strong for the battle. God shall make thee fall before the enemy, for God hath power to help and to cast down. And Amaziah said to the man of God, but what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of God answered, the Lord is able to give thee much more than this. Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again. Wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. And Amaziah strengthened himself, and led forth his people, and went to the valley of Salt, and smote the children of Seir, 10,000. And other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive, and brought them unto the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, that they all were broken in pieces. But the soldiers of the army which Amaziah sent back, that they should not go with him to battle, fell upon the cities of Judah, from Samaria even unto Beth Horon, and smote 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. Now it came to pass, after that Amaziah was come from the slaughter of the Edomites, that he brought the gods of the children of Seir, and set them up to be his gods, and bowed down himself before them, and burned incense unto them. Wherefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Amaziah, and he sent unto him a prophet, which said unto him, Why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of thine hand? And it came to pass, as he talked with him, that the king said unto him, Art thou made of the king's counsel? Forbear. Why shouldest thou be smitten? Then the prophet forbare, and said, I know that God hath determined to destroy thee, because thou hast done this, and hast not hearkened unto my counsel. Then Amaziah king of Judah took advice, and sent to Joash the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come, let us see one another in the face. And Joash king of Israel sent to Amaziah king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give thy daughter my son to wife. And there passed a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trod down the thistle. Thou sayest, Lo, thou hast smitten the Edomites, and thine heart lifteth thee up to boast. Abide now at home. Why shouldest thou meddle to thine hurt, that thou shouldest fall, even thou and Judah with thee? But Amaziah would not hear, for it came of God that he might deliver them into the hands of their enemies, because they sought after the gods of Edom. So Joash the king of Israel went up, and they saw one another in the face, both he and Amaziah king of Judah, at Beth Shemesh, which belongeth to Judah. And Judah was put to the worse before Israel, and they fled, every man to his tent. And Joash the king of Israel took Amaziah king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Beth Shemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. And he took all the gold and the silver, and all the vessels that were found in the house of God with Obed-Edom, and the treasures of the king's house, the hostages also, and returned to Samaria. And Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, 15 years. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, first and last, behold, are they not written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel? Now, after the time that Amaziah did turn away from following the Lord, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent to Lachish after him, and slew him there. And they brought him upon horses, and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. And there we have chapter 25. A little bit of civil war to lighten your day. Yeah, Juror points out, even if you do everything right, God still isn't happy. What an abusive fucker. Jones says, not with a perfect heart. Are you kidding me? Yes, exactly. Exactly. You can do everything right according to the letter of the law, but if God sees bad shit in your heart, or even not perfect shit in your heart, you're fucked. So, Amaziah decides he's going to go to war with Israel. Why? Who fucking knows? And in addition to the armies of Judah, he hires mercenaries from among Ephraim. And a prophet comes to him. Says, don't hire mercenaries, you dumb son of a bitch. It won't help. God is against you. And Amaziah says, well, what the fuck am I going to do? I already paid 100 talents of silver for my damn mercenaries. The prophet says, you think God can't recompense you for 100 talents of silver? Where is thy faith? Amaziah says, well, all right. And he sends his mercenaries back home. And his mercenaries sack all the cities they encounter on the way because they need to get their war fighting on. Joan says she's baffled by verse 4. Ooh, someone's following along in their pew Bibles. What's verse 4? Oh, yeah. Right? Okay, verse 4 is, but he slew not their children, but did as it is written in the law of the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, the fathers shall not die for the children, neither shall the children die for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. Doesn't ring true. Maybe there was another book of Moses that we've lost, but back in the books of Moses, it seems like God was all about slaying the children for the sins of the fathers and the fathers for the sins of the children. It was a big slaying fest. I don't fucking know. Chronicles makes less sense than anything else we've hit so far. It seems to just be an inversion of everything we've read up until this point. And I'm not just talking about good, bad Queen Athaliah. I'm not letting that go. Yeah, exactly. Joan, that's what I mean. God always punishes someone else than the wrongdoer. And up until this point, but at this point, apparently, no, just the wrongdoer. Not their sons and daughters and wives and concubines and sheepson and oxen and assen and property in. Okay, so Amaziah's Ephraimite mercenaries go back home, slaughtering cities along the way and spoiling them, smiting 3,000 men as they go. Amaziah goes off with his little army and slays all the Edomites. Those poor Edomites, they can't just be left alone. Let me tell you right here and right now, despite what why you are an idiot would like you to believe, the Edomites were not vampire-like demons, sons of the Nephilim. That's some ridiculous shit. They're just people. Just people. Tira points out, isn't that the whole premise of this book? Eve did a bad and now everyone else is fucked and that's why Jesus had to die? Exactly. Exactly. The whole point of the book is substitutionary atonement. Except in 2 Chronicles 25, verse 4, apparently. And people say there's no contradictions in this fucking book. So, he slaughters the Edomites and steals their gods and takes them home and says, I think I'll worship the Edomite gods now. Ricardo points out Chronicles is Kings 2.0. Yeah, exactly. So comes a prophet, a man of God, to the king. Says, how bad are you determined to fuck up, you dumb son of a bitch? God was with you. Kind of. You didn't have the perfect heart, but you were doing all right. Now you've become an idolater. And if there's one thing God can't fucking stand, it's an idolater. And the king says, you get your ass out of here before I smite you. The prophet says, all right. But you're gonna be sorry. And then Amaziah, king of Judah, picks a fight with Jehu, king of Israel, who, lest we forget, has a much superior fighting force. Lots and lots and lots more tribes. And Joash, king of Israel, sends this incredibly rude little fable in return. It says, I am an oak tree. You are a thistle. Why are you going to pick a fight with me? Do you honestly think you can win this shit? You've got Judah, Benjamin, and half-tribe Manasseh. I've got everybody else. Big-ass army. I'm going to stomp you like a bug under the foot of a beast of the field. Don't you come picking a fight with me, you dumb son of a bitch. But Amaziah does it anyway and gets himself all smoked and shit. And Joash, king of Israel, not only smites and shit the king of Judah, he comes down and he knocks down, how much was it, 50 cubits? No, shit, 400 cubits of the wall of Jerusalem. Knocks it down, comes in, takes all the shiny shit out of the temple of God. You know, the shiny shit that the previous king taxed the living daylights out of the inhabitants of the land to get all spiffy again. And now it's in the hands of the king of Israel, the northern kingdom. Can't win for losing, little kingdom of Judah. Every time they think they've got it right, some king comes in and fucks their shit right up by leading them into idolatrous paths. Aunt Jer says, I'd rather worship an idol than this God who hates everything you do, even when everything you do is good. Yes, but his heart was not perfect, and you must have the perfect heart. Doesn't even say what was wrong with his heart. Just that he had thought crimes. This fucking book, y'all. I don't know. That's I'm against the concept of thought crime. Not just because I was raised in an environment that taught me how terribly, terribly damaging and toxic such a doctrine can be. I'm against it in principle. I'm against it in practice. I'm against teaching the concept to children. I'm against adults being saddled with the thought. Bah! Humbug! Hey, doorknob head, good to see you. What flavor and color were his thought crimes? We don't know. They didn't tell us. Just that his heart was not perfect. Uh-oh. Sometimes Doc Fearsome thinks about jaywalking. That's a sin. God's gonna smite you. Come on, notifications. Stop blocking my chat. Yeah, I did not have a... Wow. Coming with the dad jokes. Purr. Dear. Doorknob head, what am I gonna do with you? I love the chat. I love the interaction with y'all. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The community building and the back and forth is my favorite thing about what I do. Well, we've been going an hour. 26 is a little on the short side. Do we want to do 26 and then roll out, or do we want to go ahead and roll out here while we're on the high note of the sacking of Jerusalem by the king of Israel? Vote in the chat. And then I have to wait a little bit for the lag to catch up, so y'all bear with me here. Joan has to go to bed, has a very early morning. Linda, my producer, says more. That's really the most important vote, is it not? Omega Nuts wants 26. So does Ricardo. All right, we'll do 26 then. Brainbug's hoping for some smiting. Be nice, wouldn't it? We've only had, what, 2 smites so far today? All righty. Sorry, I was just talking the other day about how comfortable this chair was, and now today I can't get comfortable in it for anything. All right, Joan. Well, we'll see you around. So good to see you. Have a good night. All right, 26. Oh, yeah. Then the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father Amaziah. He built Eloth and restored it to Judah after that the king slept with his fathers. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Jecoliah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah did. And he sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God. And as long as he sought the Lord, God made him to prosper. And he went forth and warred against the Philistines, and brake down the wall of Gath, and the wall of Jabneh, and the wall of Ashdod, and built cities about Ashdod and among the Philistines. And God helped him against the Philistines, and against the Arabians that dwelt in Gur-Baal, and the Mehunims. And the Ammonites gave gifts to Uzziah, and his name spread abroad even to the entering in of Egypt, for he strengthened himself exceedingly. Moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem, at the corner gate, and at the valley gate, and at the turning of the wall, and fortified them. Also he built towers in the desert, and digged many wells, for he had much cattle, both in the low country and in the plains, husbandmen also, and vine dressers in the mountains, and in Carmel, for he loved husbandry. Moreover, Uzziah had a host of fighting men that went out to war by bands, according to the number of their account, held by the hand of Jael the scribe, and Maaseiah the ruler, under the hand of Hananiah, one of the king's captains. The whole number of the chief of the fathers of the mighty men of valor were 2,600. And under their hand was an army, 300,000 and 7,500, that made war with mighty power to help the king against the enemy. And Uzziah prepared for them throughout all the host shields and spears and helmets and habergeons and bows and slings to cast stones. And he made in Jerusalem engines invented by cunning men to be on the towers and upon the bulwarks, to shoot arrows and great stones withal. And his name spread far abroad, for he was marvelously helped, till he was strong. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he transgressed against the Lord his God, and went into the temple of the Lord to burn incense upon the altar of incense. And Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him 80 priests of the Lord that were valiant men. And they withstood Uzziah the king, and said unto him, It appertaineth not unto thee, Uzziah, to burn incense unto the Lord, but to the priests, the sons of Aaron, that are consecrated to burn incense. Go out of the sanctuary, for thou hast trespassed, neither shall it be for thine honor from the Lord God. Then Uzziah was wroth, and had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth with the priests, the leprosy even rose up in his forehead before the priests in the house of the Lord from beside the incense altar. And Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead, and they thrust him out from thence. Yea, himself hasted also to go out, because the Lord had smitten him. And Uzziah the king was a leper until the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house, being a leper, for he was cut off from the house of the Lord. And Jotham his son was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, first and last, did Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz, write. So Uzziah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of the burial which belonged to the kings. For they said, He is a leper. And Jotham his son reigned in his stead. And there we have chapter 26. More priestly shit. These people either don't read too good or don't listen too good. Because time after time after time, going back to the days of the sons of Aaron, people fuck up with the incense and get themselves smoked. And yet the legend does not spread, and the people do not prosper. Oh, Dornunped is doing math for us. Thank you, my friend. Good to know. Dornunped says lots of fancy words to impress the rabble. Is this like religion using big fancy pseudoscience words today? Could be, could be, could be. And Morton is no longer driving, so he's safe to communicate with us in the chat. Glad you got there safely, my friend. All right. So yeah, like I said, more priestly shit, more examples of why the priests get to do the special shit in the temple, and threats of what will happen to you if you usurp their special responsibilities. It's just coffee, but it done got cold. Yeah. All right. Well, we've been going an hour and a quarter. My phone's almost out of battery. And we've got a king over Judah smitten with leprosy of the forehead. So I think that's the last chapter we're going to do today. So we'll pick up Wednesday with chapter 27, Jotham rising to power in Jerusalem. Thank you all so much for being here. This has been fun. I know I saw most of y'all yesterday, but it's always good to see one's friends again, especially in this time of the Rona, when we can't leave our fucking houses and hang out with our in-person friends. You watch. This is gonna be what YouTube picks for the thumbnail. Leprosy of the forehead. A rat could eat his forehead while he was sleeping, and he would not even feel it. That's sexy. Doorknob Head, you're a very strange man, but I like you. Brainbug says it's always fun in the library. Thank you, my friend. It's always fun in the hive. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, and Amiga Nut's doing all the shilling, as he always does. An invaluable resource is Amiga Nut. All right. Well, again, thank you all so much for coming. It's been a great fun time. As we always say before we head out, everybody take care. Everybody be safe. Remember to fight against hate. And wash your fucking hands and wear your fucking mask. We'll see y'all Wednesday.